All right, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the second day of Global AI Pitch Summit. It's a brand new day filled with obviously new opportunities, new connections, and of course, some more brilliant minds who is about to take us on another inspiring day. Hope you're all ready to dive back in because I got a feeling that today is just going to be as educational, as amazing as yesterday, if not even more. For those of you who weren't able to join us yesterday, don't worry. We saved the best for today. And if you were here yesterday, I want to say you guys must be ready for round two. And we're going to hear from some truly forward-thinking voices in AI. And trust me, you're going to want to be part of all of these conversations. Now, a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am Tess Hau, founder of Tess Ventures, a Silicon Valley VC fund who has been investing in AI, traditional tech, frontier tech, blockchain, Web3 over the last, I would say, 12 years. Been very fortunate to start early. Started my first startup right in year one of undergrad, and it was acquired by the time I graduated. And then from there, I spent time at Stanford, 2011, 2013, and met a lot of amazing friends that I know here. And I am also chairwoman of Gaia Labs, which we're on a mission to build the next generation of AI and Web3 unicorn. We offer startups everything from mentorship to resources to a global network of investors and of community members. And we like to turn dreams into unicorns and billion-dollar realities. So none of this, I want to say, would be possible today without me personally thanking Paul, Alec Walker, and Sophie. These rock stars have put their heads and souls into making this event unforgettable. I just want to start the day with all of us giving them a round of a big applause. Let's do that. Now, we have our distinguished guest here, Michael Terpin, who is a very good friend. He and I met almost, I would say, since 2015. And we both entered what we would say a frontier technology front very early. And this is the Web3 world. And that was in 2013. When we met, we thought, wow, we have a traditional background. He himself had built startups that got funded by Sequoia. And then later, he just transitioned his journey into many different aspects. And today, he also has recently published a book. Super very honored to be sitting here with him and having this chance to share with everyone his knowledge, his insight. I speak with him around the world. The last time we were on a panel together, we were in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, on a VC panel. And now today, we're here in the Valley. So I'll give a formal quick intro. Michael is CEO of Transform Venture. He's a true pioneer in the tech space, especially in blockchain space, and also very knowledgeable in AI. He's been at the forefront of launching over 100 blockchain utility companies. Yes, you heard that right. That's 100. And he's a co-founder of BitAngel, the world's first angel network for digital currency startups. If you've been involved in blockchain, you've probably crossed paths with Michael. And if you've been involved in AI, he's also super supportive of the AI ecosystem. So today, we will explore why AI is taking over Web2 and Web3 and what we need to do to stay ahead of the curve. Now, one of the questions that I would like to ask Michael is, he's seen so much in his journey in this period, and what will he think will pose some of the threats that's established in the centralized AI giants in the current space. And besides that, I'm sure he's going to give you some context as to how he sees and takes a step back on the landscape of what's happening to AI. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Michael. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, Tess. So show of hands. Is this okay? Show of hands. How many people before the Fetch talk today had heard of AI agents or decentralized AI? Maybe about half. Okay. So obviously people hadn't heard of ChatGPT until it launched, and then it ended up being the first startup of any kind to go to 1 million users in 5 days. That had broken the record of, excuse me, Netflix, which took about 10 months. We're now at over 1 billion users of ChatGPT. That's unprecedented for any kind of startup. And it shows the power of AI, which, AI crosses different categories. Decentralized compute, was the decentralized side, but compute, making NVIDIA the largest company valuation in the world. LLMs, which most people hadn't heard of before, ChatGPT. Basically a better Google that even Google is now trying to sort of innovate against themselves, because instead of looking and hoping you find the right thing, it goes out and finds things for you. The next generation now is agents. Agents not only go out and find things for you, they then do things at your bidding, and they will go out and 1,000 times a day if necessary. They'll find information and then act on it. They can do your own programming once you say what to do. They can go and book travel for you. There's so many categories. And the question is whether that is going to be a new feature of Google or Microsoft, or whether it is going to be something that uses tokens. And it's still really early, but people laughed at Bitcoin when it was $3 or $4, and now it's a $2 trillion asset that the president of the United States, incoming, is talking about making a reserve for the U.S. the size of the gold reserve. So I think that even though it's really nascent, it's something that if you're in the AI space, you have to pay serious attention to.
Excellent. Another question I think is very interesting is, we all know the power of AI, compute making NVIDIA the world's most valuable company. The power of this AI company is just tremendous. And LLMs making Microsoft and Google more valuable. What, Michael, do you think, what are AI agents? What are the AI agents, and who will win this race?
Sure. So right now there's about 3 major categories of AI, and there's decentralized AI is a factor in each. So compute obviously has made NVIDIA the largest valued company in the world. I remember watching Jensen Huang at CES when it was simply a video game chip company, and it wasn't that important. Now, obviously, many of you saw the gigantic press conference he had with a new super powerful AI chip, and they keep on busting out of their even highest ideas of where they're going to go from the industry perspective, and beating their earnings over and over again. We are in this sort of parabolic growth of AI right now, and it needs more and more powerful chips. It's kind of chicken and egg. If you got the chips, you then find the applications to build things faster, better, cheaper. And on the decentralized side, I mean, Fetch is one of a number of companies that is out there trying to decentralize aspects of compute. These are basically where, instead of having one big data center, I mean, obviously you still have to have physical chips made, but one big data center, you've got multiple data centers and even individuals around the world who are basically decentralizing that. So you can have a data center in Malaysia that is off-peak hours powering Silicon Valley. And so this is, again, just in its nascent stage, but several $1 billion worth of valuation on that already, even in its nascent stage. The second one is really LLMs. It's still pretty early on the LLM side. Eric Voorhees, who's a really early leader in Bitcoin, good friend of mine, he built on top of a platform for agents called Morpheus. He ended up building a new LLM called Venice. It's at Venice.ai, and it's already has several 100,000 people who are on top of it. And for one Morpheus token, which is about $13 at the moment, you end up getting their $50 a month, otherwise, kind of super-powered LLM, which, because it's decentralized, has fewer hallucinations and has no censorship. And so that's sort of an area that's starting to take off. And you don't require crypto to use it either. So there's a lot of things that will be built on tokenized structures that will be invisible to the end user as the GUI and the interfaces and the translation between Web3 and Web2 occurs. Agents is probably the most powerful place. I'm currently an advisor and investor in about a dozen AI agents, and I'm looking at a lot more. And they're all over the map in terms of what they do. In the last couple of months, I mean, this is how new the industry is. There were 2 companies that didn't exist more or less 4 months ago. One is called Virtual. And I remember seeing the founders speak in early October, and they had about a $4 million valuation. They hit $5 billion last month. And they are basically a platform that allows a marketplace to have other AI tokens that are powered by its infrastructure. Another one is called AI16Z, not A16Z, AI16. Started out as a little bit of a meme, went from 3 million to almost 3 billion in 90 days on the ELIZA OS infrastructure, which has now been forked on GitHub 500 times, and I believe last I checked it was the #1 downloaded repository on GitHub overall. So there's something happening here, and it basically is allowing you to go and build very powerful agents in a completely decentralized environment. And the funding of this, many of you remember the ICO craziness of 2017-18. I think with Gary Gensler having his last day in power, let's hear it for it, on the 19th of January, and a new, more crypto-friendly administration coming in. There are all of a sudden Americans in particular innovating and doing sort of these community-funded tokens that grow very fast for the ones that are catching on. There's something called Pump.fund that's been in existence less than a year that is now letting 100,000 tokens per week launch. Most of them go nowhere. Some of them are scams, but it's sort of a, kind of very free-for-all marketplace. That's where some of these ones launch. There's now one called DAO.fund and AI.fund. And, DAO.fund is .fund is where the launch of AI16Z happened. And if you're looking just at CoinMarketCap, you're missing a lot of the action. You go to some of these decentralized marketplaces like Dex Screener, and you see that this is just an amazing world that's been taking place just in the last few months.
Amazing, amazing insights. Next, I would like to talk a little bit about deeper, discussion on the challenges that AI is addressing in Web2 and Web3. At Tess Venture, we have a deep team of expertise who have majored and have been very passionate in AI. And we talk about three things: data fragmentation, data privacy and ownership, and generalized versus specialized intelligence. How we think about data privacy is Web2. There's legacy systems and silos across multiple apps. This creates a barrier to effective data utilization. Web3, decentralized apps, dApps, still struggle with aggregating meaningful data for actionable insights. So we've been very fortunate to see this as one of our theses, is to invest in companies that solve some of this. And as you know, we're investors in Joinable, Mini-Me, and Automatic, a lot of these amazing AI companies that are solving some of this. And I think particularly with Join Protocol, it unifies fragmented data into a secure private knowledge base that leverages both structured and unstructured sources. Now I'm going to touch briefly on two other points, and then later I'm going to have Michael also speak about his thoughts. The second is data privacy and ownership. In Web2, there's heavy reliance on centralized platforms, and this raises concerns over compliance and privacy, which is such as OpenAI and Anthropic. There's a lot of discussions on the concerns. As they grow bigger, we do benefit from the tech innovation. However, there's a lot of downside. Now, Web3, decentralized ownership aligns with AI's ability to offer customized private solutions. And again, that's why we invest in companies that have the technology that's decentralized architect, which ensures that data stays within the user's trust boundary, offering secured AI-powered insights. Now let's talk about generalized versus specialized intelligence. ChatGPT struggles with the one-size-fits-all AI solution. This lacks domain-specific capabilities. In Web3, communities and dApps require tailored AI to address niche needs. Now, we are seeing innovative startups with technology that has vertical answer engines that provides bespoke intelligence for teams, communities, and enterprises. And if anyone is building any technology in this area, definitely at Tess Venture, we're very interested in speaking, and feel free to come up to me and my team offline. Now I'm going to hand it over to Michael so he can share some of his views on all of these topics or anything else that you want.
So, you know, what's happening in AI right now on the decentralized front, you know, it's the start of a bubble. But bubbles create value. The dot-com era was a bubble blowing up that blew up, and a lot of money was lost, and that really crashed NASDAQ. On the other hand, without the funding that happened during that period, you wouldn't have some of the biggest companies in the world now. You know, Amazon.com was part of that. The early funding of Google was part of that. And then you've had several waves in the traditional Web2 marketplace. You know, Web 1 basically was the web, right? And it was sort of a read-only infrastructure that still was remarkable because you could go for the first time and just, you know, click Louvre.fr and be in the Louvre in France and see things. Web 2's innovation was you all of a sudden turned into read-write. That's where blogging came out, social media, and at every single stage there were people who were you know, disbelievers. You know, the web was like, you know, I mean, look, even personal computers was like, why would you need a personal computer? The first CEO of IBM said they thought at some point there'd be a need for 6 computers in the world. Obviously, Bill Gates then said there would be a desktop on every desk in America, and people just, you know, thought that was an incredible vision that would probably never come through. Well, now it's like, which of your computers, right, and which of your devices? So Web 2 then, when Twitter first came out, people laughed at it, and they were like, why do I want to know what you had for breakfast? This is ridiculous. No one's going to use this. Obviously, now it's X, and it's arguably the world's, you know, most important communications platform. And in this last few years, you've ended up having, you know, sort of blogs evolve to the point where these, you know, long-form Joe Rogan, all-in podcast, they had a significant impact on the election because people are just not believing sort of the centralized media as much as they used to, and they're looking for their own voice, and they're finding it through the internet. That was all kind of from Web 2. Web 3, which still is not highly adopted, is really the ownership layer. So with both read and read-write, you still were basically just dealing with files. You know, the great thing about you know, being able to put a photo on the internet was you could go and replicate it 1 million times and still not degrade the quality. That was not possible with analog. But you couldn't own it, right? And when you're talking about the internet of money, Bitcoin, and all the cryptocurrencies that have followed it, that has created a whole new dynamic where you can go in and provably move a store of value through Web3 from one owner to another owner without any third party. Just, you know, so my book is called Bitcoin Supercycle. I wrote it because I've been talking for, you know, almost 10 years now about the cycles of Bitcoin and explaining Bitcoin to non-crypto investors who were told for years and years it's a scam, it's never going to survive, etc. And they missed out on the opportunity to have bought Bitcoin at $100, at $1,000, at $10,000, at $20,000, which was only about a year and a half ago. And obviously, it's at 100,000 on its way. I'd say it's a when, not if, that it hits $1 million. And so I explain in the book why it has value and also how to play the seasons, the 4 seasons of Bitcoin, which then also impacts all the other cryptocurrencies, and it will affect the ups and downs of this marketplace for decentralized AI as well. So Web 4, in my opinion, hasn't really been branded properly yet. I'd say is automate. So in other words, Web 3 lets you to own. And all the prior advancements are rolled in. You can still read, you can still read-write, you can still own, but with AI, Web 4 is going to allow you to automate. And you can automate with or without the ownership layer, but I believe that in the next 5 years, you're going to find that most AI companies have a Web 3 component to them.
That was extremely insightful, Michael. Thank you. Now, I would like to touch a bit more on why AI is transforming Web 2 and Web 3. As we know, AI is the unifying force. AI is the bridge that unifies Web 2's existent centralized ecosystem with Web 3's decentralized ethos. Acceleration of innovation, this highlights the rapid pace of advancements and the potentially transform how data is leveraged. Data is such an important aspect of, so much of how we think about the world, making it the core engine for insights, automation, and decision making. Now, user-centric shift, both in Web 2 and Web 3, is evolving towards a user-centric model where data privacy, ownership, and actionable insights take precedence. The exact problem AI is solving. We talk a lot about, how is AI, truly going to look like moving in the Web 2, ecosystem and Web 3. We really believe, I think, myself and Michael, that the convergence of what is happening in AI between Web 2, Web 3, there's going to be a lot of interesting startups and technology that's going to come out from this. So another piece about data ownership and monetization, we look for technology that allows you to monetize this type of data, because I think the one-size-fit-all generic, intelligence truly this year is going to change, and you're going to see that a lot that's happening. So creating paywall access communities or token gated knowledge hubs powered by AI insights, I think these are some shift of what you're going to be seeing different companies evolving and in the news that you hear about, and we hope to be backing those companies or be part of it. And I think if Michael has some thoughts on this area, or something that you
Sure.
are thinking about here.
So, in terms of kind of the control that governments have had over data information, this really stems back to 9/11, right? And it was an overreaction of obviously a horrific event that basically opened up the door for governments around the world to basically just start controlling the flow of information and basically looking. I mean, really, there was no such thing as KYC prior to that. It was very limited. Now it's like, you have to have 15 levels of approval to prove you're not a terrorist to do anything. And that's been doubly true in crypto. And that has really stopped the adoption. When the internet first came in the 1990s, the U.S. government and the rest of the world followed, said, we don't know much about this, but let's not tax it. Believe it or not, they weren't taxing the internet in those days. And let's do everything we can do to make sure that the internet stays in America. And as a result, Amazon, eBay, Google, Facebook are all American companies, not Chinese companies, not European companies, not based in the Cayman Islands. And the opposite happened with crypto. You end up having a lot of forces that were out there with sort of their own interests, banks, investment banks, you name it, various players that did not want crypto to be adopted too early because they saw its power and they wanted to be able to control it, to be able to co-opt it, and that's again what really stopped things happening. I mean, the first ETF was proposed by the Winklevoss twins in 2013, and it was denied. It took, I know we have a speaker on AI from BlackRock who was sitting next to in the front row here awaiting this, and he can give us some insights. When they came out and had the power of BlackRock, 10 trillion assets under management, to say, yeah, I think it's time for an ETF for Bitcoin, it became the most successful ETF ever. And now people may not realize that even though Bitcoin is not at the market cap of gold, it'll be $700,000 when it is, the Bitcoin ETF is now a higher market cap than the gold ETF. Think about that for a moment. This is in less than a year. It was January of last year, a little later in the month, that it got approved. And so that shows the nascent desire for this investment category as an asset. And that's before people even understand the power of its utility. And so I think that's what's going to happen with decentralized AI is, yeah, the governments are going to go. I mean, I'm a investor and advisor to a company called Own, and they basically are decentralized TikTok. So you can go in and let your followers all know that, hey, if TikTok gets shut down, you can come here and you will never be shut down. And if the governments come to them and say, we want to shut this down, it's like, here's the code, figure it out.
Amazing, yes. And I also have the chance to have met the founders at Own, incredible, talented entrepreneurs. Now, I would like to talk a little bit more about how AI is democratizing access in Web 2 and Web 3. I think about that a lot, and especially us at Tess Ventures. We think it lowers barriers to knowledge. Lowering barriers to knowledge is how AI is going to transform complex, siloed database into actionable intelligence. It also, if you look for technology and teams and platforms, it can actually democratize access, for small teams and large enterprise alike. Right now, we do not even have access to being able to own your own data that you're contributing to ChatGPT and all these other, companies. But think about what could happen, and that's where Web3 can come into play. Also, we think about, can you combine private and public data and then enable some small teams to unlock, enterprise-grade insights? Again, we look for technologists, disruptors who are looking to do this. And further empowering communities. In Web3, communities drive the value. AI empowers them by offering tools to manage, analyze, and act on their data. So these are just some things that we think about, thesis, that when we see teams or we see teams that can do this, we immediately, want to back them, incubate them, or be part of that journey. There's going to be nuances, a lot of it, but then we also look at industry experts such as Michael and other folks to share their knowledge and combine some of this. And what else would you think are some thoughts that we shared earlier when we were preparing that you would like to share about?
I think we covered a lot in 11 minutes. So
amazing. Maybe some questions and answers.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Should we do that, Paul? If anyone has anything, if not, obviously I have more questions for Michael. Excellent. Okay. So, Michael, how about we talk a little bit about Transform Ventures? At Gaia Lab, we incubate, we accelerate in case there's founders, entrepreneurs in the audience that are interested in starting their own AI company, but need that acceleration, or they want to learn more about how decentralization, blockchain tech can be utilized. Maybe you do a lot of advising, I do a lot of advising. Very humbled and honored that we always get approached. You can talk a little bit about your strategy?
Sure. So Transform Ventures has a couple of different divisions. I do a lot of advising. I was named the top 5 advisor in crypto. And by the way, it's up to 400 companies now that I've either advised or marketed, including Ethereum. Was sort of the first one, and also early work with Ripple. I think
you also advise Abu Dhabi.
I advise a lot of folks, but so that's sort of part of what I do. It keeps me very busy. I also first got into the space because of my marketing background. Again, the company that Tess had mentioned that was Sequoia-backed was MarketWire, which is now known as Globe Newswire, was the first internet-based company newswire. Press release distribution system, and it's now about a $500 million market cap. It's owned by Apollo Global. A couple of exits later, we sold too soon, but that's okay. It was 35 million. Now it's $500 million, but that was over 20 years ago. At any rate, basically, that's one division. I also have an events division. Bid Angels is in 25 cities, and we sort of decentralize that. We sell global sponsorships. The individual cities hold their own events and schedules. We're everywhere from Dubai is very active, Singapore, New York. We do not have anything in Silicon Valley at the moment. So if anybody in the Web3 space thinks that they'd be a good city leader to hold events that bring together startups and funders, and this would probably be a great facility to hold it in. So you can reach me at I'm Michael Terpin, Terpin, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on almost everything, and it's just Michael at transformventures.io. And I also I got into this space all through marketing. So I started the first crypto PR firm called Transform Group back in 2013, and that's sort of I treat it like a separate division, even though it is wholly owned by Transform Ventures. It's based in France. We have people in the Middle East, in the United States, et cetera. It's a global agency, and so we're still very active there. And Xenia von Vedel runs it. She spends her time between France and Silicon Valley, and then incubating through my venture studio, Transform Studios.
Excellent. And a little bit about Tess Venture and Gaia Lab. We invest across all stages, and AI has been a particular focus. Our sweet spot is early stage, especially founders that we've known for a while. And even if we backed the last startup and it failed, it didn't succeed, we feel that failure compounds, and that's priceless. So we do think for individuals or founders that have have walked away with lessons learned and can articulate that to us. We feel that's extreme iteration and coachability because we can learn from their journey and we can share what we've learned.
Hopefully failure lessons compound, not failure compounding.
Yes, failure lessons. And we, of course, believe we invest globally as well because this market, especially with decentralization and AI, there is no borders. Money has no border now, especially with crypto. And things are changing very well in the direction of regulation. It has been some tough few years, but regulation, over-regulation happens, then it relaxes. So I think we're coming into an amazing, incredible year. At Tess Venture, we have about 300 investments, about 100-ish is in Web2, the traditional classic equity investment. The other 200 is in Web3. We've been investing in this area in the last 10 years. Typical check size is $500,000 up to $1 million, later stage higher, team of 10. We used to be a team of 30, but I think, downsizing to the smartest, best team members, as we all know, keeps it nimble, keeps it agile. And again, we have a couple of team members here today, so feel free to come up to us, synergize in co-investments or share what's happening in other parts of the world. We are particularly focused on blockchain technology. We've invested in layer one's infrastructure and, of course, into dApps and AI agents, such as, Mini-Me. And, of course, another stealth company that I'm part of and back that's about to be up and coming. So feel free for those who are looking to, join companies or invest or start. Michael and I will be around all day, so feel free to come up to us. And if there's no other questions, we will finish this session. Did you want to ask something? Yes.
Well, from the investor point of view, what is your prediction of a future job market? Like, I heard so many people talk about 95% of the jobs going to be gone or redefined in 5 years. What's your take?
Yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. I don't think they'll be gone. They'll just be replaced by jobs. Somebody has to manage and build the AI program. So I think that's where the new. Let's put it this way: this is an evolving problem over the last couple of 100 years since the invention of the steam engine. I mean, there were riots when they basically, were afraid that the horseshoe makers or the what do they call those, cobblesmiths or something, blacksmiths, were going to go out of business because of the car. A lot of new jobs were created because of the automotive industry. Same thing here.
Yeah, I think my advice is for those who are technical or interested, there's boot camps, courses that they can take on top of your main job. Very needed to continue upgrading. For those who have kids, get them early started in prompt engineering. For those who also are not technical background, but you should learn because how to use the AI is what's going to happen in the job force. And those are going to be new jobs created. And those who don't know how to prompt these AI technology is going to be obsolete. And that's the problem.
And there's also a lot of no-code solutions that are coming out. So if you just simply have a big brain and you focus it on solutions, there's an entire industry that's maybe only 5% built out. And the ones who come up with the best ideas and gather the best teams will be very well off.
Thank you. So we're out of time, but this was amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.